White people have always had way too many dogs because they have always needed something to control besides other people. White people's obsession with dogs isn't about companionship, it's about domination. From European aristocrats hoarding hounds like status symbols to settlers using attack dogs to enforce slavery and colonization, white societies have long treated dogs better than people, as long as they were obedient. They bred dogs to enforce social hierarchies, hunting hounds for nobles, attack dogs for slaves. They prioritized dog breeding over feeding the poor, even when their own economies were in collapse. They weaponized dogs against enslaved people, indigenous communities, and their political enemies, because why do your own dirty work? They humanized dogs while treating actual humans, especially black and brown people, like animals. White people today pretend like their dog obsession is about love, but historically, it was about hierarchy, power, and violence. White elites have always used dogs to reinforce class hierarchies. In medieval Europe, dogs weren't companions, they were status symbols. In feudal Europe, hunting dogs were luxury items. Commoners were banned from owning them. Greyhounds, bloodhounds, and mastiffs were legally restricted to nobility. Owning a well-bred hunting dog was as important as owning land. It showed that you were better than the peasants. White elites treated dogs like extensions of their own power. Poachers, aka starving peasants, were executed if caught with a noble's dog breed. Dogs were bred to enforce class control. Bloodhounds didn't just hunt deer, they hunted people. Even in times of famine and war, aristocrats spent fortunes on their dog kennels because their dogs meant more to them than their subjects. And yes, the white obsession with purebred dogs comes directly from their obsession with racial and class purity. White settlers didn't just own dogs, they used them as colonial weapons. Wherever white people went, so did their attack dogs. Spanish colonizers used war dogs to terrorize native people. Columbus and Cortez didn't just bring swords, they brought mastiffs trained to rip native people apart. Dog terror was a colonial strategy, letting their war dogs feast on native peoples in public executions. They justified it by calling native people subhumans, but gave their dogs full military honors. Dogs were used to enforce slavery. Enslavers bred Negro hunting dogs specifically to chase, maim, and unalive escaped slaves. Bloodhounds and mastiffs were trained to track black bodies across plantations. Runaways feared the dogs as much as the slave catchers, because once they were set loose, it was over. Settlers also used the dogs to control Native Americans. During westward expansion, U.S. soldiers used attack dogs against Native resistance fighters. These same Indian hunting dogs were later rebranded for police forces. While Native people were driven onto reservations, white people built entire industries around sport hunting with dogs. White people have never just been dog lovers. They have always used dogs to reinforce racial and class order. White people have always prioritized dogs over human lives. If there's one thing that white elites hate, it's helping the poor. But if there's one thing they'll always fund, it's breeding dogs. During the Irish potato famine between 1845 and 1852, British landlords let millions starve, while continuing to fund elite dog kennels. During the Great Depression, rich white Americans kept their purebred dogs in luxury, while their neighbors starved. During apartheid, white South Africans refused even basic education for black children, but spent fortunes on breeding and importing European hunting dogs. If given the choice between saving a dog and saving a starving human being, white elites have historically chose the dog. And this mindset is still alive today. White people will donate millions to animal shelters, but ignore poverty in black and brown communities. They'll cry over a police dog getting shot, but justify cops killing unarmed black people. They'll campaign for dog adoption harder than they'll ever campaign for racial justice. White people have always seen some humans as less valuable than animals. White people invented dog racism while pretending to be against it. White people obsess over purebred dogs because they invented blood purity in the first place. Eugenics, the science of breeding superior humans, was modeled after dog breeding. Mustache Man Who Shall Not Be Named was obsessed with German shepherds and promoted breeding programs for both dogs and people. White aristocrats wrote entire books about how mixing dog breeds was as dangerous as mixing races. Even today, white people assign race to dogs. Pit bulls, aka black dogs, are criminalized, while golden retrievers, aka white dogs, get a pass. Black dogs get adopted less from shelters because white people unconsciously associate them with danger. Police forces breed and train attack dogs the same exact way they did in slavery and colonial wars. White people invented racism, then applied it to their own pets. White people's dog obsession is an escape from their own social decline. They refuse to have kids, but will raise 3 Labradors like their biological offspring. They feel disconnected from community, so they turn dogs into their emotional crutches. They want unconditional obedience, so they choose dogs over humans. White people's dog obsession is about control, not love. That's why they ignore human suffering while spending millions on pet pampering. That's why they cry when a police dog gets hurt, but justify police aggression against people. That's why they advocate for animal rights while voting for politicians who gut social programs for children. White people treat dogs better than humans because they don't challenge whiteness. Dogs don't talk back. They don't demand reparations. They don't compete with white men for jobs, and they don't expose white privilege. Until now. White people don't love dogs. They love what they represent: obedience, control, and unconditional acceptance. White people's dog obsession isn't about love. It's a historical reflection of how they see the world. Some humans deserve loyalty and care. Others deserve to be hunted and controlled. And the best companions? The ones who never question their master. White people don't own dogs. They need them. Because without them, they'd have to face the fact that their entire civilization is built on dehumanizing everyone else. Cope.